What's good, everybody, and welcome back to the channel for another episode of our Oakland Athletics franchise. Excuse me, our Las Vegas Athletics franchise here on MLB The Show 23. As we are now in spring training, of course, just moved to Vegas in the offseason and made some big changes alongside it. Of course, with any relocation, you want to make some big moves to get the fans excited. Adding Vladimir Guerrero, adding Freddie Peralta. But another thing we're doing for spring training only is adding in our young, good prospects that are over 70 overall. We had enough room to add them onto the 40-man roster, and since they're certainly less than 3 years away from being MLB caliber players, I thought it would be fun to get everyone in on the spring training action this year. A ton of new faces are on this 40-man. I am excited to see them all play for the team. So we will start out with kind of our current lineup. We'll be playing a game with the guys, as you see here. This will be our lineup heading into the year. And then we'll also be playing a game with kind of the lineup of the future, or at least potential lineup of the future. You can never really know where guys will end up and how they will develop, but I think this spring training will be a good idea, good kind of spring training, I guess, to gauge where we're at both now and in the future. I think we're very, very promising in both. I want to get a start with Freddie Peralta here, as we will be able to face his former team, the Brewers, in his first spring training start. And so I thought that was a good opportunity to hop in for our first game. Now, this first game is going to be a little bit more cut up highlights, not necessarily full game review. But Vladimir Guerrero, he is going to fly out to start his Athletics tenure here in spring training. Just wanted to see his first at-bat, even though it wasn't a particularly great one. Freddie Peralta will strike out Tim Anderson to start his day, and Contreras, a very promising young catcher. I guess he's probably not all that young anymore in this franchise, but he will strike out as well. Also wanted to see the first at-bat here for Luis Urias, of course, playing third base for us this year as he cranks this one out to center. This one's got a chance. It's back and gone. Luis Urias showing some power in his first plate appearance with the Athletics here in our franchise. Very excited about him for the short term. And, you know, who knows if he continues to show off production like that. It's hard to say no to keeping this guy on the field for us, but very nice homer here. Can't really get much better in terms of first impressions with the squad. Freddie Peralta will get a ground ball, and that, my friends, is a nice 4-6-3 double play here in the second inning. Torres to Witt to Guerrero, and you know, especially with Witt and Guerrero, you got to imagine those two are going to be two of the pieces of this team long term. Gleyber Torres is on an expiring contract. Lawrence Butler will reach on a walk here, top of the third. Very excited to see if he can increase his production and become more like year one Lawrence Butler, who was honestly my favorite player on that year one MLB roster. Vladimir Guerrero with 2 men in scoring position is going to bring across both here as Ian Happ will slide in safely. Much better second at-bat than he had in the first, picking up his first 2 RBIs. Boyce McDermott will also reach with a walk. You got a man in scoring position again, though Guerrero doesn't have maybe the best speed. Didn't end up bringing anyone else across in the inning. Jackson Chourio will strike out swinging at the high fastball. And then Tim Anderson will ground into a double play to get out of the third. Only wanted to pitch 3 innings for Peralta. Was very impressed with those 3 shutout innings from him. Got some strikeouts and got 2 ground ball double plays. Tyler Soderstrom gets a hold of this one to right field. Really struggled for us last year, but had a really nice episode in the last game of the season. And I'm hoping that that momentum will translate into a better second year of his MLB career. Torres gets that curveball in the zone, smokes it into the gap, and that will be an RBI double for Gleyber Torres, extending the lead to 4-0 for our Las Vegas Athletics. We're going to have to say that many times to get used to it, because I've gotten so used to saying Oakland Athletics. Ended up bringing Bo Schnell in here in the 4th inning, even though he's technically not somebody in the now and definitely somebody in the future. Will allow a home run here after a really nice strikeout just the previous batter. But he's one of our long-term pitchers, and I really wanted in our second game to pitch with Darren Gilbert, so I thought this was the best time to see a little bit of Bo Schnell at the major league level. I've enjoyed pitching with him in the minors. Does have some control issue, which means he's going to leave some over the plate and occasionally allow some absolute dingers. 4-1 now here, top of the 5th, full count for Witt as he will draw a walk. Showing some nice discipline here in spring training. Guerrero 1 for 2 today, 2-0 pitch upcoming. He is gonna smash this one, no doubt about it. Our 2 big position player acquisitions, and honestly our starting pitcher as well. So all 3 of our big acquisitions making very good first impressions, and I am excited for Season 4. I think this team has a chance to be really, really good. And, you know, it's guys like Vladimir Guerrero that are really going to have to be the guy for us if we have playoff aspirations, which I certainly do with this team. Nice to see some early returns there with a 2-run homer. Oh, Schnell is going to let this one go deep and back and gone. His second home run allowed here. So yeah, it's pretty easy to tell that maybe he's not quite ready, and honestly none of these prospects are going to be making the opening day MLB roster. Just wanted to give them a little bit of a glimpse of the big leagues in spring training, just see how they do. Unlike kind of with Soderstrom and with Boyce McDermott last year, where I said if they had really good spring trainings, I'd let them be on the opening day roster. Don't really see that being the case here for anyone else, excuse me. Oviedo would come in here in the 6th for us. Bo Schnell showed us some highs and some lows, but felt like we had seen enough of him. And Oviedo, of course, Rule 5 pickup the prior year. I actually think he is somebody that I'd like to get a little bit more development in the minors now that we're not required to keep him on the majors. As Boyce McDermott will get a nice single here, but he's going for 2 with all that speed, and he's gonna be thrown out. It's maybe a little bit too aggressive for my liking there, but it's all right. It's spring training. We got a 4-run lead. I'm all for testing the limits of these guys. Arias will get a second extra base hit here, top of the 8th. I really like hitting with these guys, and while we're certainly have maybe a couple of weak spots in the batting order, I think this team has as good and well-rounded a batting order as any as we've ever had. And I think our offense can be poised for good things this year. Unless I'm swinging at pitches like I did with that last Gleyber pitch. But here, Carlos Liriano, he was a UDFA pickup the prior offseason, the Season 3 offseason. Played in the minors for us last year, did quite well, and here he's picking up some strikeouts as well. 2 strikeouts in the 8th for him. Top of the 9th now, Ian Happ 1 for 4 on the day. The 1-0 pitch is right over the middle, and he sneaks that between 3rd and short. And a 1-out single for Ian Happ. showing off just a little bit more offense. That would be our last hit of this game. Gilberto Vasquez, closer of the future, would come in here. Bottom of the ninth has procured 2 outs thus far in terms of flyouts, and it looks like he's got his 3rd straight flyout. Wasn't a save situation, but nice to see him retire the Brewers 1-2-3 in the 9th to pick up the spring training victory. Had a couple of former Brewers in Urias and Peralta, and one gets player of the game and the other gets the win. So I think those guys enjoyed playing their former team here. And like I said, I wanted to do a second game. This will be more complete game footage here. I'm not like I'm going to show every single out, but just a little bit more comprehensive, as this is going to be kind of our future lineups. We traded for Darren Gilbert at the very end of the off-season episode. 18-year-old pitcher. I thought he was the best pitcher in last year's draft. And we traded Omar Cannon, a really high-level pitching prospect. Kind of just did mostly a pitching prospect swap along with Rene Hernandez for his services. I thought it was, a decent chunk to pay for a guy who's just 18 years old, but I am very confident in Darren Gilbert's skill set translating here. He does allow a 1-out single to J.P. Crawford here. He's definitely not ready yet, so we're going to give him as much time as he needs. But I just felt like he is somebody that could be a future ace-level prospect. He's not having a great first here, allowing a 2nd consecutive base runner. That one just was fair, and just honestly outside of the glove of Ian Happ as well. And then a little bit of a mishap. The pitcher and the catcher not communicating. You had that one. We'll load the bases for Seattle here. This one's hit deep into right field by Trey Mancini. Should be easily enough to tag runners from 2nd and 3rd. They'll do just that. Seattle will take the 1-0 lead early on. Runners now in the corners. 2 outs. That one is lined out to Robert Poisson. Somebody that could be the future of our second base. And here's the total futures lineup here. Of course, some guys are the same. Guys like Vladimir Guerrero, Bobby Witt, who you're seeing here, getting beaned. Those guys are, as I'm really counting on to be part of the franchise for as long as we run it. And Guerrero will advance Bobby Witt. He's going for 3rd here, and the throw's offline, and he will get it. Man, Bobby Witt has got some wheels, and he turns, a simple single into getting that extra base to 3rd quite often, and I do enjoy that. Boyce McDermott lifts this one to left field. That should be deep enough to tag. Bobby Witt going for it. The play was not close, and so Las Vegas will tie this thing up bottom of the 1st. Nice to see a very familiar opponent in the Mariners here in this game. Daryl Kohler got some nice contact there, but it will be a fly out and the 1st. Jared Kelenic sneaks this past the glove of Vladimir Guerrero. He'll get on 1st, 1 out acquired here, top of the 2nd. That would bring up Edmundo Sosa breaking the bat. The flip behind the back from Guerrero is just not in time. Would have been a sick play had it been called for. Now, still honestly a sick play. Just didn't get the result we wanted. 98-mile-an-hour fastball. He's got some gas. Really the problem with Darren Gilbert, as we're kind of seeing here, he left something over the plate. Won't get punished for it here. But his problem is control. It's in the 40s. Even, when he's maxed out, he's never going to be a guy with excellent control. You just hope that he's got the stuff to overcome that, and I do think he has that. Alex Angeles, perhaps the hitter I'm most excited about in our farm system right now, him or Kohler. He's going to fly out here in his first at-bats with the MLB team. Bringing up Robert Poisson, full count here. He's going to get this one just in front of right field. 2-out single. Let's see what we can do now with Eduardo Silva, somebody that was the first ever draft pick of this franchise. Hasn't quite been as good as I want him to be, but does put Poisson in scoring position here. Now we get to the top of the order. Can Ian Happ make something happen? He's going to look at that strike. A little bit low and in, but definitely should have been something I swung at. And after 2 innings, looks like we're going to have a rain delay, so that will be a little bit of a premature exit for Darren Gilbert. I wanted to get maybe 3 or maybe 4 innings from him. We'll have to settle for just 2. We'll bring in Kyle Muller. Speaking of guys who maybe haven't been quite as good as I was hoping, Kyle Muller has been a bit of a disappointment, but he gets through the 3rd cleanly there. McDermott will get a hold of this one out to right field, but just can't get out of the reach of Teoscar Hernandez, who's now up to bats and will draw a walk on Muller. His walks per 9 rating is easily his worst attributes. Nice throw out there by Tyler Soderstrom to get that runner out quickly. Tyler O'Neill would end up striking out here. 2nd out acquired here, top of the 4th. Plenek, he's 1 for 1 on the day. Gets a hold of this one into center field, but Eduardo Silva has a beat on it and will snag it out in center field. Daryl Kohler 0 for 1 on the day thus far. This one's hit well. That one's going to find the gap and hit down. Should be extra bases for his slow 30 speed. Stand-up double to lead off the 4th. Gotta get guys like Kohler across here. Can Alex Angeles do it? 0 for 1 on the day. This one's also hits weakly, and he'll be out, but it'll advance Kohler to 3rd. Bring up Poisson. He got a single in his first at-bat, but this time he's striking out, swinging at the circle change. Cole Young will be top of the order for the Mariners. And just can't get it. Diving play, Bobby Witt. That'll be a single. J.P. Crawford coming up next. Swinging on the 96-mile-an-hour fastball. High and outside. Nice pitch by Muller. That brings up Rodriguez. This one's going foul, but Ian Happ tracks it down in foul territory. Acquires the 3rd out. And we'll be back up. The game's still knotted at 1. Silva, this one's hit high, deep in right field. Does this have the carry? Looks like it's going to come just short as Hernandez will make the catch at the warning track. Witt has walked in this game. Will come up and fly out to that same right field. Eric Ullman up pitching for us, and Cal Raleigh will take him deep here with a home run. Just not exactly where you want that pitch. Right over the middle of the plate. I'll give the Mariners a lead, and here Teoscar Hernandez now wants to get in on the home run fun. And he'll do just that. Seattle now 3-1 lead. But Ullman would come out and finish the inning after that. Nicely with the strikeout. Guerrero was excellent in this first game. 1 for 2 in this one. This one's going to sneak past the 3rd baseline. And a lead-off single for Guerrero. Bottom of the 6th now with a 2-run deficit to overcome. Kohler, can he advance Guerrero here on the 0-2 pitch? This one hit opposite field. Just in front of the left fielder. Will hit down, putting Guerrero in scoring position. He is pumped. You love to see it. That brings up Alex Angeles. Hasn't been able to do too much for us so far, and this time he's going to get bean right in the buns. Full count now for Tyler Soderstrom. Could walk in a run, and we'll do just that. Wouldn't be surprised if that one was called a strike. Just because, you know, the whole umpire personalities, but we get a good call there. Poisson's going to get a hold of this one to left field, and that's going to advance Kohler and tie this game right back up at 3. Both teams with 2-run innings thus far. Can Eduardo Silva make it even more? Jammed high and inside. That one's caught in foul territory. Unlucky there. So the score will be 3-3 as we enter the bottom third of this game. Bobby Witt, nice throw on the move, will retire the 9-hole hitter. Bringing up Roosevelt Drew, who's going to walk on Brett Martin. Brett Martin was really good in his first year with us, not quite as so good in the second. Would love for him to return back to that year 1 form with the squad. That's a nice throw from Ian Happ, but just not quite there in time. Seattle would retake the lead. Force out here at second would end the 7th. And top of our order would be up, down 1 run once again. Bobby Witt just sneaks this past the second base man there to get a 1-out single. Bringing up Guerrero. He has been good in both games. He's going to reach base yet again. We've got a man with some serious speed in scoring position. McDermott's going to lift this one to right field, and it's going to be caught. I thought that one was going to hit down. It's a really good hit, but couldn't quite find the gap out there in right field. And then Kohler lifts this one. He's also been good thus far, but we can't bring across Bobby Witt in that inning. Domingo Acevedo gets rocked to right field. This one is a rocket deep back and gone, no doubt about it. And Seattle would extend their lead. Domingo Acevedo's been our best, most consistent reliever, but you know, everybody gets rocked sometimes, I suppose. Hellenic is going to lift this one out to left field. Boyce McDermott handles it easily. And so now we've got one more chance to get out ahead and take this at least. Oh, sorry, not one more chance. I thought that was bottom of the 8th. That was top of the 8th. Turns out we would waste the bottom of the 8th here, going down 1, 2, 3. Bring in Zach Jackson, who improved dramatically in year 3. Has really improved all 3 years thus far. And I'd like to see that improvement continue here as he is in a contract year with us. He makes sure Seattle doesn't extend the lead. But here in the 9th, what can we do? We'll start with a fly out to center with Silva, bringing up Ian Happ. He has not had his best game today, 0 for 4 thus far, also behind 0-2. Slider upstairs will get him swinging. And now it's looking like we will be dropping our second game here. But Bobby Witt's not done yet. This one's going to be back, and it will hit the wall, and he's got a double. Our Athletics will not go down quietly here. Full count for Guerrero. Something taking yard here could tie this one up. He hits it solidly, but right into right field. And so the Mariners would indeed pick up the victory, but I think we saw some good flashes from a lot of our young players. At the end of spring training, we would end up being 17-10. Nice positive run differential, and here's kind of how some players did. 267 for Guerrero, probably a little bit lower than I would expect him in the regular season. Bobby Witt was incredible. Freddie Peralta was really solid. Jack Flaherty, Trevor Rogers, all of our big 3 pitchers were good. Boyce McDermott was good. Ian Happ was terrible. Glaber was good. Zach Jackson was good. Our best game of the spring training is what we saw with Luis Arias. Kohler hit 348 in spring training. It'll be interesting to see how long it takes him to be called up. He was excellent. Soderstrom was solid, if unspectacular there, but he will be, of course, our catcher. He didn't really need to prove anything in this spring training. Bo Schnell was really good in 16 innings. Silva continues to prove that he's not quite ready for the MLB level. Lawrence Butler wasn't good. Hopefully that's not an omen for his season. Liriano, we pitched that one, the only inning that he pitched in spring training, and he did really good with it. And Kyle Muller had a solid 9 innings as well. He will end up making our MLB roster. Tyler Wells the Rule 5 pickup here. Alex Angeles ended up having a terrible spring training, which is unfortunate because I think he is like an MLB level hitter right now, but just didn't prove it here in spring training, and he'll get some continued development at the minor leagues. But overall, 17-10. I think it was a pretty good spring training. Bobby Witt was probably our best player. 337 with 6 home runs is quite impressive, and I hope that's something that he can keep going throughout regular season. If he can hit, I mean, obviously not that good, but anywhere close to that would be incredible. So, ended off this episode, figured out our MLB roster. In terms of prospects that made it, it was really Poisson and Devin Foyle out in left field. Ended up being kind of the 2 young players that made it. But that's all I have for this episode. I'll be back soon with another, and I will see you then.